Hello. Today I want to talk to you about what may be the most important aspect of nonverbal and verbal communication. It stems from every single word that you say. You have no choice but to express yourself with a certain tonality. Tonality is so powerful. Think about the days when you were a young kid and your parents said, "Don't use that tone of voice with me, young man." It's so impacting, it oftentimes carries more weight than the actual words that you use. And a very important thing to remember is, regardless of whether you think you're using a certain tonality or not, everything you say is said with the tonality. I think most of the time people think they're using a tonality that is very neutral, and it kind of maintains the current vibe or the current energy of the interaction, while they don't really realize they're coming from a little bit different perspective than what they think. Now, the three different types of tonality are rapport breaking, neutral, and rapport seeking. So think about rapport seeking for a minute. Think about you're talking to a boss or you're at an interview. Most of the time, the inflection of your voice towards the end of the sentence is going to go up. So let's do something easy with "how are you doing?" So you're going to say something like, "How are you doing?" Very supplicating, once again, very looking for approval, trying not to ruffle any feathers, trying not to give them any reason to feel anything except for you're going to be friendly for them. "How are you today? How are you doing?" It sounds like a sales call almost. "How's your week been?" Very high pitch. Actually, when you think about it more, the entire tone sometimes is high pitch with inflection at the end. So "how are you?" Very high level the whole time, almost like you're singing a little bit. When you listen to it and you see people interacting and you hear that tone, it's actually kind of hard to listen to because you realize the other person is brown nosing. It's almost kind of offensive. But the problem is too many people use that tone at the beginning of an interaction thinking that's the best way to come across, because once again, you're not ruffling any feathers. You're meeting someone new. You want them to like you, don't you? Yes, but you also want them to respect you. Okay? So now you can speak with a neutral tonality. So now you're talking like I'm talking right now. "How are you?" You know, it's not too high, you're not singing, you're not in your head voice, but you're not also coming down. You're not breaking rapport either. So, "How are you? How was your week? How's everything been going with you? How are the kids?" Anything like that is very neutral. It's going to kind of maintain the energy you put forth, unless, of course, you're coming from this rapport-seeking tonality that I started with. And lastly, you've got what's called rapport-breaking tonality. So that typically is going to trail off with a lowering in the tone of your voice. So how does this come across when I say this? "How are you? How was your week? Oh yeah, how's the wife been?" It sounds like a boss speaking to a coworker or a employee, doesn't it? It's actually the most powerful type of tonality because it indicates that you're not worried about ruffling feathers. You're comfortable the way you're perceived. And it's very strange because there's nothing specifically about that type of tonality that intuitively tells you that he's trying to break rapport or that he's not worried about how he comes across, but it's so easy to identify. I mean, you could take anyone off the street and show him me saying these three things and say, guess who he's interacting with? Is he worried about how he's perceived? Does he put the person he's talking to status above him? I would guess that a 10-year-old kid oftentimes would get everything correct because it's such a crux of human interaction and human communication. So when I talk about the communication equilibrium, you can think of it as a seesaw, as a balance, as I always talk about, or you can just think of it, are you interacting with someone who's cooler than you or not? I mean, I heard many years ago, the world is a big high school. Cool people stay cool and dorks stay dorks. Well, that's not true. People obviously change, but there is always a perception where people are trying to scan out your social value or are you cool or not. So pretty much when I say if you're slipping in the scale, just think of it as, does the person you talk to all of a sudden think you're a little less cool? Do they think they're a little cooler than you? Are they putting you below them? Are you putting them on a pedestal? When that happens, I'm referring to when the equilibrium shifts against you. You're at 40, they're at 60. So that's another way to kind of conceptualize this premise. So say you're approaching the quarterback of the team and you don't play football and you're trying to come across in a really good light. You're going to feel when you're interacting to them very stifled. You're going to feel like you can't be yourself, like you're trying to put on a good impression because you know what they think of you can have an impact on your life. All of a sudden, it's the end of a football game, and he's walking out, and he's like, "Oh, hey, how are you doing, man? How'd you think of the game?" And everyone sees that. Well, they're going to think, "Wow, this guy must be cool. The coolest guy in school is giving him props." That's very important to think about. So you're going to come at it with a very rapport-seeking tonality, and the problem is what you're trying to do is actually the opposite of what you're going to achieve. You want him to like you. Instead, you're going to come across as someone that doesn't respect themselves, therefore doesn't think that the quarterback should respect him, and odds are the quarterback won't respect him and won't like him. So it's very important when you're going up to someone who it's very important to you what they think of you, watch that tonality. Now let's use this in a business setting. You're talking to your boss. I coach people all the time who say, how should I interact with my boss? I feel like they don't respect me. They talk down to me. Well, I say, well, let's pretend we're interacting right now. And 99% of the time, they're using a very supplicating, rapport-seeking, oh, please like me, throw me a bone, put me on mentality. Whereas I don't coach them to say, you know, come at them with a rapport-breaking tonality. Try a neutral tonality. And the surprising thing is when you're using a neutral tonality with someone who you perceive as higher value to you, you will feel like you're talking with a very rapport-breaking tonality because you're so used to supplicating and so used to putting them on a pedestal. So even if you start to speak with them like, yeah, how was your week? Was everything good? A very on the same page as the other person, you'll feel like you're saying, how was your week? How are things with your wife? But in actuality, that's your perception. That's not what's really going on. So if you're in a situation like this, and most people are, that they have someone that it's very important how they perceive them, whether because of work or for personal reasons, watch your tonality and try to come at them with a much more rapport neutral tone as opposed to rapport seeking. Basically what tonality is telling people in a non-directly communicative way is that how do you respect yourself compared to the person that you're talking to? Do you respect them more than you? Basic as that. If you respect them more than you, it's natural for people to use an inflection in their voice that's very rapport-seeking. If you put your value the same as them, it's going to be more neutral. And if you put their value below you, it's going to be more neutral to rapport-breaking. So keep that in mind when you want to control your perception, especially in a situation where you're talking to someone that you perceive as having a little higher value or is a little cooler than you. Try to come in with a much more neutral tonality as opposed to what feels more natural with a very supplicating tone. Use this today, and I think you'll be impressed with how much it allows you to control other people's perceptions of you. And once you use it in a very small instance, you'll realize how effective it is. You'll start to notice both consciously and subconsciously how you're coming off with these different tonalities and begin to use it more and more effectively as you begin to understand and appreciate its true value and its power.